life was good. That's when I got my draft notice. I ended up in Vietnam in the 4th Infantry Division as a light weapons infantryman. My first day in the field in Vietnam was on a fire base St. George. The night before, they had been assaulted by NVA sappers. They were almost overrun. My first job that day was to help pick up bodies and body parts. We got hit again that night. I was posted on a pile of sandbags that was once a bunker where Americans died. When I attempted to shoot the M16 they gave me, it would only shoot one round and jam. I could not get the damn rifle to shoot. As bullets zipped over my head and night flares dropped from the sky, the patches of lye we put down the ground where we found the bodies eerily looked like ghosts in the wire. I have never been so scared in my life. It's a long way from the great life I had with my young wife. That was my first day. I had a year to go. When I came home from Vietnam, life was not the same. I was there in body, but I was like I was in another dimension. I was on the outside looking into life. Although I would not admit it, I came home with PTSD. I worked 4 years at the Anamosa Police Department and 20 years at the Iowa Men's Reformatory, the state prison in Anamosa. The alcohol I used to self-medicate and the PTSD took its toll on my life. Finally, in 2007, I was at the point I was going to kill myself or somebody else. So I went for help on the PTSD. They put me on some very serious, dangerous drugs. I weaned myself off those drugs because of the side effects. No matter how tired I am, there's never a night I look forward to going to bed because I never know what I'm going to see in my sleep. Many of you wonder why I'm up here talking about cannabis when I have very little experience with it. I'm the kind of person that likes to stand up for what he believes in. I believe this is the right thing to do. Some veterans come home from war with all kinds of terrible side effects. Guilt, depression, nightmares, flashbacks, anxiety disorder. I'm here for those young, brave heroes who are out there right now with their head in their hands in a dark place, contemplating their own suicide. Because I've been where they're at. They're not going to come lobby the politicians. Many are going to suffer through on their own. Try to self-medicate, like I did, or kill themselves. 22 veterans every day take their own life. That is almost one an hour. One of them right now is so alone and depressed that he or she can see no way out but the end of his or her life. This is a national disgrace. 1 in 3 veterans from my Iraq-Afghanistan wars come home with PTSD. More veterans from those wars have killed themselves than were killed in combat. The same is true for the Vietnam vets. A new study in New Mexico showed 75% reduction in PTSD symptoms using cannabis. Decriminalizing marijuana, passing a medical cannabis bill, or rescheduling it won't fix everything, but it might just save some of those heroes. Our heroes. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, thank you for allowing me to address the committee today on this very important topic. Again, my name is Dan Andreessen. I'm the Public Policy Manager for the National Multiple Sclerosis Society's Upper Midwest chapter, based out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. Our chapter serves over 4,500 Iowans living with MS every day, along with an additional 14,000 people in Minnesota, North Dakota, and South Dakota. The National MS Society is dedicated to achieving the world free of MS and helping people live their best lives. For those unfamiliar with MS, it is an unpredictable autoimmune disease of the central nervous system that interrupts the flow of information between the brain and the body. Most people are diagnosed between the ages of 20 and 50, and at least 2 to 3 times more women than men are diagnosed with the disease. The disease manifests itself differently from one person to the next. Symptoms of MS can range from fatigue and sensory problems to vision loss, muscle spasms, pain, and paralysis. The cause of MS is unknown, and currently there is no cure. There's a significant unmet need for therapies that can address complex and painful symptoms often experienced by people living with MS. The National MS Society supports the ability of people living with MS to make informed choices about their treatments with their healthcare providers, including the use of medical cannabis when in accordance with the legal regulations of the state. Although current Iowa law does not allow Iowans living with MS to gain access to cannabis for medical purposes, the Society supports expansion of the law to allow those with MS to have access to this option for treatment. An increasing number of studies suggest that derivatives of cannabis may lessen patient-reported MS symptoms like spasticity, pain, and frequent urination. Recently, the American Academy of Neurology completed and published an extensive review of existing research on the use of cannabis and determined there is a strong support for its use in treating MS-related symptoms. Each individual, in consultation with their healthcare provider, should make an informed risk-benefit decision regarding the use of cannabis and its derivatives. Therefore, the National MS Society also supports the need for more research to better understand the potential benefits and risks of cannabis as treatment of MS, and also supports its rescheduling. Recognizing this need, we need to support ways to remove the barriers allowing research on cannabis, such as rescheduling. The National MS Society supports all the work Senator Bolcom and other legislators and advocates have done on this issue. Last year, the chapter supported the law, or the legislation that currently became law in Minnesota, and look forward to working with everyone in the session to find a solution to provide a safe and immediate treatment to Iowans in need. Thank you.
Thank all of you. I mean, this is just excellent testimony. So, senators, you know, a lot of you came to me last week and said that the two gentlemen who talked about the psych beds was compelling testimony, and I think you'll agree that I think everyone was on the edge of their seats listening. So, thank you for sharing your personal stories with us, and it helps us to make decisions here. With that, Senator Bolcom, would you like to lead the questions? I think prior to this meeting, I asked you to explain why we were going to talk about the expansion of how medical cannabis could help different diseases and different people, not just epilepsy, instead of maybe addressing how we can make it available to those we've already passed a bill for. So can you address that and then maybe lead the discussions around it?
Yeah, we do. Thank you, Senator Mathis. Madam Chair, thank you also for providing time today for this.
Absolutely.
These Iowans to share their really heartbreaking stories. Again, appreciate your courage for being here. As you heard from our fellow Iowans that have addressed us today, there are a number of conditions that people suffer from in chronic ways that if you lived in another state in the country, you would have access in one of those 23 states to another alternative. And as you've heard today, the people that have testified have been doctored by the best. They've taken all the medications that are obvious and useful for the conditions they have, but they still seek relief. They still suffer. And so part of, I think, looking forward, the legislature did a great job in responding, I think, in a very compassionate way to the families, the moms, the dads, and the kids we all met last year to try to address the issue of intractable epilepsy. I think it was a big first step on an issue people didn't think we'd make much progress at all. And I think the challenge that we've heard since we adjourned and as out is that not a single family has been able to actually obtain the medicine because you have to go to another state to get it. So as we think looking forward, I think the question is, can we craft a law like other states that would provide provide medicine for more than just that chronic condition of intractable epilepsy? So I think as I look forward, and I hope the testimony here supports, there are a whole host of other items that could benefit from access to safe legal cannabis. And if we need to fix the law to provide medicine for intractable epilepsy, it seems to me there's an opportunity to open the door a little bit wider to help these other suffering islands that have these chronic conditions who have approached us. So I think I'm interested, and there's work right now on some draft language, a draft bill, to basically try and move in that direction. So today I think it's just for us to educate ourselves about what are the other conditions that people suffer from, and what's the potential to help them.
Thank you, Senator Bolton. Senator Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you all for being here. I've talked with all of you before, and thanks for coming back again. I first want to ask as ranking member whether we're going to hear from the medical community on this, you know, and hear more about any studies that are out there, what the work studies in progress. I think we really need to do that. We need to have time among ourselves. With Senator Yoakum, not Yoakum, I'm sorry, Bolton. I'm sorry, Yoakum. Anyway, Senator Bolton. So before moving forward, I've got a real big pushback on this in Senator Kibbe's hometown of Emmitsburg on Saturday, from mental health people, from a town hall meeting Saturday, from law enforcement, and from the county attorney, in fact. Just some things that are happening here in the legislature. We had a nice discussion about that. But what went wrong last year? I mean, we're pushing here we're again. I haven't seen a bill yet. None of us have seen a bill yet. Last year, I remember how 2 bills were dropped on the final funnel week, and then the bill was declared dead. My party was blamed for that. Let's get past the politics here. I mean, we're the Senate. We can work on these things. But I don't know what the roadmap is here for this and all. And I know that there's been discussions. I have not been part of those discussions. I don't know who's discussing what. But I think it's very, very important that we're going to make some changes here and actually expand that. Is what went wrong? I mean, I left here last year thinking, yeah, we've done some good work. I supported the bill last year. You know, well, maybe we shouldn't vote at 4:30 in the morning. Number one. I mean, that was, you know, it was crunch time at the end of the session. But I'm serious about this. I'm absolutely serious about this. I'm not going to go through the entire list of things that I mean, I know a lot about what these people are talking about because I have a pretty long medical history. Okay. Anyway, but I'm just wondering, how do we avoid that? I'll let you answer that.
Yeah. I actually think a lot went right last year. I mean, I'm disappointed that not a single young child with epilepsy has been helped yet, right? Or in some cases, adults. I think there's a level of frustration from the people that worked on it. But I think the legislature, in a broad bipartisan way, said what no one thought they would say, and they said cannabis can help people. Cannabis is medicine. I think that's the vote we took, and I think the concerns of a lot of members in an election year was this is too hot to handle. We don't want the postcards or the radio commercials, right? And none of that happened. I don't think everybody came back. The fact that people voted to provide access to cannabis as medicine to islands was not a political issue. So I think actually there was a lot of positive that happened last year on this issue. Yes, there's, like there's unfinished business. We passed lots of laws and there are works in progress. There might be a little bit more. We thought maybe we might have moved the ball a little bit further last year with this issue. And I don't really want to go into so much the things that happened and how Bill becomes law, where we got moved off this way, and moved off this way, and moved off, because I think that it wouldn't be helpful now. So I do think that a lot of positive happened, and I think more positive can happen. But I think the big issues is we've got to figure out how to produce the medicine here in Iowa, like 23 other states have done, and dispense it to people here in a controlled, restricted way, like other medicine people get, and some way to oversee the program in a responsible way. And I think other states have done it successfully. There's no reason we can't too. And I think it's only going to happen if it's bipartisan. And there ought to be some there's a bill crafted after, last year's bill was like after New Mexico, this year's bill was after New Mexico and Minnesota, right? That are effective working programs. So I'm trying, I want to stay positive. Let's move this ahead. I wish we've gotten a little bit further, but we know where the issues are, and here we are. We're the next 60 days, 80 days, however long we're going to be here. We've got a terrific opportunity in this 15th session to do something meaningful. I look forward to working with you on it.
Well, yeah, and I do too, but I mean, let's get back to my question. What's your roadmap with the legislation? Are you making this a leadership bill on your side? I mean, I just want to know where we're going. March 6th is coming.
Well, I think there's several options in terms of what would come out of this committee and what would come out of that's going to be after
Senator
this
Bolton,
one.
please use your
I'm
mic.
sorry. A bill could come out of the Human Resource Committee. A bill could come out of the Ways and Means Committee, which doesn't suffer from the funnel. I think the key thing is getting together on a set of ideas, and once we get to agreement on a set of ideas, we'll put it in the right place to move it ahead.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you, Senator Volker. There are some other things that need to be said here, and I know we don't have that much time, and there might be some other questions.
That's true, there
But
could be some other questions.
There are, and that's why we need to take this up again, Madam Chair. But I live 15-minute drive from Minnesota, and I was on a conference call this summer, and they have really ramped us up for a quick rollout of July 1. That part is right, but the consultant warned on that phone call, I specifically remember that they really put it on a fast pace, fast track, and they're not sure that they can get there completely and have the assurances to the people who need it that they're going to get the purity, the effectiveness, and a list of things. So it's not in place yet, but it's supposed to be in place by July 1, which the consultant